Welcome to the Wild Simplicity podcast, the podcast for awakening women who are ready to shed the layers, let go of the clutter, and rediscover their wild and wonderful selves that lie beneath. I'm Anna Day, and together we'll explore how to simplify, release what's no longer serving us, and embrace the possibility of living fully in this one wild and precious life. Whether you're a dreamer, a seeker, or someone who craves doing things differently, this space is for you. Let's dive in and awaken the magic within. Hello and welcome back to the Wild Simplicity podcast. This is Anna and I am going to share today some of the things that have been going on this week for me, some of the things that have been moving through, and I'm going to start by reading something that came through this morning. I woke up at 5 o'clock this morning, having gone to bed at 10 p.m, which is pretty good for me. I was proud of myself for caring for myself enough to go to bed early. That's early for me. So I woke at 5 a.m. and did I get back to sleep? Oh, I did a little meditation then. So I did have another little bit of a snooze after a little while. But first of all, I was having lots of thoughts come through. And this is the first thing that came through. And I always think it's really potent to, I was thinking, I won't read exactly what I typed at 5 o'clock in the morning. But I think this is the best thing to read because it's unfiltered, right? It's what came out of my brain as I was there in the pitch black, like my screen on low and just typing. And I can hardly see either because I can't really see the phone so well these days. But so I was just typing away, and it's a great way to record what comes to me in the morning at 5 o'clock. And I always feel like these 5 o'clock messages are something that comes through me that is unfiltered. So that's the part that's really key. And it is, it's not coming through to me during the day. And even though I create gaps in the day where it could come through, other stuff comes through in those gaps, but this is a particular type of message that usually comes through, or a knowing or a reminder, or anyway. So I think it's always, I love reading them back because I feel like it's a nudge for me of what I can be focusing on or what's a message I need to hear. So I read it first and then I will discuss about it a little bit. So it started off, you've started to awaken. You're on a spiritual path. You're realizing more and more that the systems and structures in place aren't all they're cracked up to be. More is being revealed to you how mainstream society and the mainstream ways of being and living aren't for you. You know you need to carve out and live a different way. But what way? You're now in the spiritual world, going to the events and the healings and the ceremonies. Wonderful. Making community, meeting like-minded people. But then the same crap is still in your mind. The voices are still there. You're still outsourcing your power and not believing in yourself. You're still in the same patterns that you were in when you were totally oblivious to it all. This is okay. This is part of the path. The subconscious beliefs are still in place. They're still looping and running your life and your day to day. That same energy of your life is there, except it just looks a little different and you've got more people who get you now. Amazing. But the subconscious runs everything, not the conscious mind. Your conscious mind is now aware and has awakened, but we need to update this subconscious with these new knowings and understandings. And the body. The body is still responding to things and events and happenings as before. You may be more aware of your behaviors, but you're still in the programmed responses and reactions. The lens you're looking through is still the same. Through unworthiness, not enoughness, not important, not feeling good enough about yourself, not all the subconscious beliefs that any of us might have at any point. I had written there, list all the subconscious beliefs. So my brain was like, okay, later on, list all the beliefs. And so now your next step is to realize all the ways your mind is being hijacked in this new awakened world, spiritual world. You're still outsourcing your power and your knowing. Just now it's to an array of practitioners, coaches and gurus and courses. That's okay. And support is a continued need in this life. Connection is a continued need. Communication and sharing is a continued need. Being seen, held and heard. Yes. However, do not forget that you are the guru. You are the one that knows. You are the source of your unique wisdom and power. To hear this unique wisdom and differentiate between your own inner knowing and other outside sources, you have to get quiet. You have to be still. You have to do this while reassuring the parts of you that will tell you it's a waste of time. It's boring. It's slow. It's unproductive. But go there. Get uncomfortable. Build the uncomfortable muscle. Feel your feelings. Tend to your inner child. So that was what I came through this morning, because it's been something that is with me a lot as I practice more and more being in silence. And as you know, myself and Gemma were running for the last few years, settling into silence. And silence has been such a part of my inner healing and being able to be with what's there. Can I be with these feelings that are coming up? And, I noticed that so going through the healing path, and especially over the last decade or so, I've been in a more deeper healing, looking at past experiences, doing with the stuff with the inner child, a lot of somatic work. I've done somatic courses. And so that has all been very needed and fresh. But I was realizing the same super familiar patterns were there. And as I said before in previous episodes, that the subconscious mind has always absolutely fascinated me since I started reading personal development books back when I was 14. And since then, back then I was only aware and obsessed with mindset and the mind, and I wasn't incorporating the body into it at all. And now I realize that all I needed, like, it's a holistic approach: body, mind, soul, spirit. And so back when I was early on, looking at all the books and reading stuff and learning about the subconscious mind, that the subconscious mind is, takes up 90%, 95% of our thoughts and our actions and our beliefs are based on the subconscious. And it's only 5%, which is our conscious mind, that is, thinks it's running the show, but actually it's not. It's that subconscious that we are mostly unaware of and blind to and cannot see. We cannot see our subconscious beliefs because we are them. We are acting through them. They are, if I keep thinking of it's like being in a fog or a mist or a smog. And that smog contains, I'm not enough, I'm not important, I'm not loved, I'm not good enough, whatever your flavor of subconscious belief is. And limiting subconscious belief, obviously the unhelpful subconscious beliefs, right? Because there are some helpful ones. And that is how we perceive the world. We are always looking through the smog. So we're looking through the smog in our intimate relationship. We're looking through the smog with our kids. We're looking through the smog when we're in the school with the kids. We're looking through the smog when we're with our friends, when we're out with new people. It's always that same filter that we are seeing the world through and perceiving the world through. So someone else will be looking through their smog and it'll be a different flavor of smog and a different color and with different beliefs and language that will inform how they are perceiving themselves and others, and what meaning they are making out of the event and the situation they're in. And this to me is absolutely fascinating. I love it. And I was looking for the last couple of years to come back to the subconscious because I've done NLP before, neuro-linguistic programming, which deals with the subconscious. And I've done some other ones, but they weren't what I was looking for. They weren't getting to the nub of the issue. And I've also done some of Byron Katie's work called The Work, where she deepens into questions and digs down into and why and how does this make you feel, and what's, getting into the language of the subconscious beliefs. I've also gotten into Sue Morta's work. She's more energetic in her style and really connecting to the divine and how we are these spiritual beings on earth in these amazing human bodies. And she releases energetically, so underneath even the subconscious. And so I'm learning about that at the moment. That is still in process and it's fascinating. But last year I did Peter Crone's mastermind for 3 months, and it was so in depth and it was so incredible, and it really gave me a greater understanding of my own subconscious beliefs and subconscious behaviors and the mind and what the mind is. And through that, and then other avenues I've gone down since as well, bringing all these together is such an amazing. There's people out in my garden. Anyway, they're doing stuff out in the garden. So, but I'm just going to keep going. I would not have been able to keep going with interruptions like this before. So this is another, changing changing the narrative about how my perfectionist self, it's not safe to make mistakes is one of my subconscious beliefs, or was one of mine that's now being dissolved. And given that would be, I would have categorized, waving to someone in the garden, it's not supposed to be in the podcast. That would be a mistake. And that's not okay. And it is okay. It's perfectly fine because this is life. So my point being, yes, that so when I was learning about the subconscious, in the early days, in my teens and 20s and 30s, actually, and it was through that lens. It wasn't as deep, and I wasn't able to grasp it so well. Now I have list of my subconscious beliefs. I know, and that we have blind spots as well. So I keep asking for universe, life, to show me my next subconscious belief that is ready to be seen. And until they're seen, they are blind spots. So we don't even know they exist. They are just, it's like the blind spot of the car. It doesn't exist. The car is there right beside you, but you can't see it in that blind spot because it's that little section that you can't see. And it can be revealed to you through others. But once we get into this inquiry state where we are looking at life, so I'm looking at life and everything that happens in life, not as happening to me, it is happening for me. It is a creation of my own creating, or my it's for my evolution. And even the shit stuff, like especially the shit stuff, actually. And it is inquiring into those, not out of fault or blame or making myself wrong, but out of curiosity and taking radical responsibility for myself. Actually, Dr. Shafali Sabri has a book called Radical Responsibility. I think it's over on my bookshelf, which I can't see from here. I just remembered that now, and I must look back in her book and see how she talks about radical responsibility. But I have this dedication and devotion to radical responsibility for myself now, because it is our key to our liberation and our freedom. And radical responsibility for me also encompasses self-love. So the more I learn about how much of a spiritual being and what this life is about, or what I am learning and believing currently that this life is about, because guaranteed in like a few months or a year or 5 years or 10 years time, I will have a different understanding as human consciousness rises and increases and things become visible to us. We will have greater and different understanding. So at this point in time, my understanding is when I can deepen into the fact that I am held by life, I am being guided to what I'm needed to be guided to next. It's all for my evolution. And I am open to that. I'm open to going into the stickiness and the ickiness and the discomfort. I've spoken about discomfort on this podcast before. It is something that I really believe in. I think it is, we are so against going into discomfort. We all want comfort. We want things to be the same, stable. We want them to be, me included, we want them to be predictable. And when they are not, and when we feel uncomfortable feelings in our body, our body, and this is somatic as well, our body signals a danger. And actually what we can do is build the capacity within our nervous system to converse and to look out and ask the question, am I really in danger here? And to remind ourselves that we are safe, that we are, if we are in a safe situation, obviously, and to rewire the nervous system and the body and to hold it all, to be with the sensations. And those sensations can be really, really uncomfortable. And to know and to rewire our brains that discomfort does not equal danger, and discomfort does not mean turn away. Discomfort for me now means go towards, not always, but a lot of the time. Be curious. Why am I feeling so uncomfortable here? Why is this discomfort here? It's telling me something. It has a message. And so the essence of that was like, even coming into an awakening, and as many people are right now, in the world, of what the world is really about and what systems and structures we're in, and how the mainstream world is made up, and how we are being constantly programmed in how we act and what we think. And we're being fed stuff through our phones, through our social media. And the more we can become awakened, aware of this, the more we can start to make conscious decisions and tap into ourselves and our own inner knowing, which is the key. And so what I was realizing is, and being aware of and seeing so many, healers and coaches and gurus out there, and many of our, so-called gurus, many of people who are amazing, but also many who are questionable, and how people who are just awakening then grab on and latch on to all these new things. It's like, okay, it's a spiritual world, so it's different. You're realizing you're a spiritual being in a human body. Great. And then it's like, right, well, I'll do all the ceremonies and the healings and the energy healings and the yada, yada, yada. But that is still through the same subconscious beliefs of the power source being outside of ourselves, because we're feeling not important, not good enough. So if we're not good enough, we certainly can't trust what is within ourselves, our own inner knowing. And we keep busy as well. So we were busy before doing whatever, maybe in our corporate jobs, or maybe in our 9 to 5s, or maybe in our whatever way we were doing. We're just doing what we were told to do, doing what was our expected path. We were just doing what our parents expected for us, what society expected for us. We just kept going. And those of us who have decided, no, this feels wrong, this feels off, I am going to not go this path. I'm going to choose a different way. I'm going to, move to a different country. What we've done, send my kids to a different school that's not mainstream school. I'm going to create different paths that do not recreate what I have already seen and experienced myself. I know I want something different. I'm not quite sure what it is, but I'm going to keep following the nudges that universe sends me and that I sense within myself. And so, but what can happen is that we keep, so even though we feel we're awakened and we are, spiritually enlightened and feel much more open to all this, we can still be within the same context. It's still the same context, except now it just looks like it's free and spiritual and crystals and, all the props and stuff. And it's still, it's the same thing, but just dressed in a different costume. And that's where the subconscious beliefs come in so strongly, and so that there's such a key to our liberation, to being aware of your subconscious beliefs and to be aware of the language you're using about yourself and to yourself, to uncover what your constraints, your prisons, as Peter Crone calls them, your constraints, your protected self, as Sue Morter calls it. I mean, there's lots of different terms, your ego, right? All of this is to develop awareness around these structures. And it is really amazing. It's just, it's very similar. So being in, your old life compared to your new, more spiritual life, for example, is similar to, okay, you have this string of relationships or friendships and the same characteristics are coming up. This always happens to me. Always look out for that. I think that's an amazing sentence. When you hear that from yourself, this always happens to me. Oh yeah, typical. That's your key. It's like, right, what's typical? What is this always happens to me? What is that pattern? What is that personality that keeps coming into your life? Okay, this time they're dressed differently than it was in your ex-partner, or it was in, the I don't know, random, or you met at an event or something. They'll all have a similar quality. They'll just be coming into your life, and you can eradicate them from your life. You can say, oh, toxic person, toxic friendship, gone. And unless we deal with that subconscious belief that has this person appear in our life, they will pop up like whack-a-mole from somewhere else and looking slightly different and tricking you into thinking, oh, look, new person or new relationship or whatever it might be. But actually they will ultimately have the similar flavor and will be bringing out of you and activating that same subconscious belief. So the need for us to, again, go even deeper. So when we are, doing the inner work, to not look outside ourselves, to remind ourselves, and to look for, if we're looking and working with coaches and going to ceremonies and whatever, because these are all super helpful and amazing. And we need the community, we need the support, we need the like-minded people, we need the people who are also awakening alongside of us and who can see. And that is absolutely necessary in this path. However, reminding yourself and looking for people who are doing the inner work themselves, who are pointing you back to you. So if they are saying, I have all the answers, if they're saying that they have all the answers for you and that to follow their way of doing something, that's a little bit of a warning sign to ask them some more questions. And, if they're giving you all the answers, that is a disservice to you, because it is all within us. And we just think it's not, because we're so conditioned to believe that we could not possibly know, that we could not possibly have this power and influence and wisdom and gnosis within us. And we do. And the only way that we can hear this wisdom and gnosis is if we get quiet. We must get quiet. We must find some way to meditate, or even, you don't even need to meditate. You need to find a way to be without your devices, particularly, and without, people go on digital detoxes, but then they're finding another way, I'm talking about myself as well, find other ways like, oh, I'll just do this webinar. That's not really my phone. I'm off my phone. I'm on this webinar, but it's still filling the mind and filling that conscious mind and allowing that ego to take over and still occupy itself. Whereas what we need is pause, silence, stillness. And it can be the smallest amounts of silence as well. It doesn't need to be that you need to go and do a week-long silent retreat. No, I wouldn't start there. It's like taking a pause that you're going to sit down. When you've finished your cup of tea, you're going to sit for a few extra seconds you can start with before you get off the seat and run to the next thing. This is advice from me as well. Even what I've been thinking when I've been sitting down today. And, the next thought comes in, oh, the laundry, I haven't done that. Okay. And you get up real quick. So if we can bring this awareness to ourselves to pause before we get up, or tie it to somewhere, anchor it to something that you are going to, when you wake up in the morning, you're not going to hop out of bed. You're going to say to yourself, hi, how are you? Hi, Anna, how are you doing? And it's going to be, and then you're going to breathe for 30 seconds. It can be any which way, or do a breath work, a short one. You can do 5-minute ones. Inside Timer has loads of breath works and meditations. Find somewhere to start where you are going inwards. And it can even be when you're having a cup of tea, sit down and just look outside, just stare out the window and see where your mind goes. And it might be really uncomfortable to begin with. It probably will be. It is. It's really icky. Sometimes you're like, oh God, no, I just don't want to do it. But keep going, keep doing little bits, because there's magic in there. Really and truly, there's magic in there. And I'm learning this more and more. And, really, really having to coax myself into having silent time. Now, even I set my timer for 20 minutes earlier on, and I'm just looking at the time because I'll take my kids soon. This is what I usually do, correct? I record the podcast like very soon, very tight the time I need to leave to collect the kids, just to create that extra bit of tension. So that's another, that's a system that makes me comfortable when I have a little bit of tightness in time. So that's something we can look at, like these behaviors and reoccurrences and repatterning, the patterns we have. Anyway, so I set my time for 20 minutes. And what happened after the first 10 minutes, I was like, oh, I haven't messaged that person back. I was like, will I be able to hold it in my brain? Will I remember? Because I had forgotten to text her a few times. So I stopped. I picked up my phone and I messaged her, and then I put it down. And then there was a beeping noise from outside because I was outside in the garden, so I hadn't heard the doorbell. And it was the delivery guy ferociously beeping his horn, which I knew was directed at me, or to get my attention, should I say. So I went out into that. But I came back outside again. I set my alarm again for another 15 minutes and I sat. And so it takes a little bit of coaxing and a little bit of, and maybe you don't have 20 minutes at the moment in your day, and that's okay too. Pick 3 minutes, 2 minutes, anything that can show yourself that you're devoted to yourself, show yourself that you believe in yourself, because no one else is going to do it for you. No one else is going to give you the permission to do it. And I spoke to my husband about this the other day as well, because I was like, okay, we were talking about our work and how we both work quite differently, right? And how for my work, and as my work becomes more predominant in my days, and as the kids are getting a bit older, and I'm going to dedicate myself, and as we've settled here in Portugal now, and I've got more, there's a need as well, there's an inner nudge to show up more in my work and in my business. So we were talking about that, and I was saying that if I needed to signpost to him what my working day will look like in comparison to his, because he will have to witness me going outside the garden usually, or in nature somewhere, and because we both work from home, so we're often in the house together, and that there will be moments where it'll look like I'm doing nothing, because my work requires from me to sit and do nothing every so often, I mean, once a day at least. And my way of even podcasting, he has a podcast as well, and his way of podcasting, he can be in here talking to me, and he'll be like, I have a podcast interview in 5 minutes, and I'll be like, what? And he literally goes outside, sits down, starts recording. I cannot do that. Now I have come in today and just started recording, but if he was here in my energy field right before I'd start recording, I couldn't do that. I need him to move out, or me to go to a space where I'm going to record, and I need to take a few breaths, and I need to just center myself and clear my space and clear my energy. And so we have different ways of working. And also different, because what I'm creating in the world is it's a feminine way of doing things. We are bringing this new earth and new world is requiring us to go back and remember these ancient ways of doing things. I'm not saying podcasting is an ancient way of doing things, but the ancient ways of turning inwards and trusting ourselves, trusting our intuition, trusting our inner gnosis, trusting that which is coming from within. And it is our job to show reverence, show devotion, to speak about it openly, and to take up space with it. And I think it's really important for us to have conversations about this, particularly with our loved ones and those around us and our friends, and to, choose wisely. You want to say to people who you can trust and who are going to hold what you are creating in the world with, if you are creating something in the world, with reverence. But I think when we can hold it with reverence ourselves and we believe in it, we know the importance of it. We know, and we believe in it, and we trust it, and we know it, and we're so deep in our belief. And that deepening in our belief comes from taking time to show up for ourselves, to love ourselves, to reparent our inner child, to be with her, to cuddle her, to coax her. No, that sounds a bit weird, doesn't it? Not to coax her, but sometimes to coax her, but to really hold her and be so gentle with her. And sometimes not gentle, sometimes to give her like a, come on, it's okay, we can go, I'm going to come with you, it's okay. And to be with those parts, that's all very much an integral part of these new ways of doing things, and of being with our families, and of mothering, and of parenting, and of doing things a different way, and speaking to our kids with this new way that we are learning, remembering, relearning to speak to ourselves. And this morning I was talking to my kids about mantras, and I was saying to them, like, repeating back a few things, like affirmations to them, and asking them about their belief in themselves. And, my son, who's a bit older, he's 11, he was, a little bit reticent, not really so into it, but he could give me a little smile. I could see the curvature of the lips. I was like, it's going in. Our kids are listening and hearing all that we are saying about ourselves, and even energetically. And that is not to put pressure on you. That is not to feel bad about what your current mindset is, or your current subconscious beliefs are, because there's always going to be more to uncover, and we're always messing up. Like, let's just allow that messing up to be there, and to be part of the evolution, and it's exactly the way it is in each of our lives, which is different circumstances, different contexts, different everything, right? So allowing that to be the way it is, and knowing that that's right for us. Like, when we really have that trust and that knowing that we are exactly where we need to be. And I know that's really cliche and really hard to understand sometimes, or hard to grasp, because we want things to be faster. We want things to be moving at the rate that it's moving for that other person over there. And why can't I have what they have? And I put in so much work, and whatever your story might be. But the more we learn, again, back to the silence and the stillness and the going within, the more we learn to do this and practice doing this, the more content we are within ourselves, and the more trusting we are in ourselves, and the more we awaken to our greatness and all these subconscious beliefs that are running the show for us. So yeah, see what look out at your life at the moment, and feel into where, or ask yourself, like, where am I struggling? Where are the real icky parts that are just not liking about my life at the moment? And have a journal if you can, or be speaking to a voice note about what language is coming up around that for you. And if you haven't read The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer, I can never get that right. Anyway, Michael, go on, Michael. The Untethered Soul, and many spiritual books speak about this concept of, the observer, the watcher. And when we can create that space within ourselves where there is an observer to these thoughts, we can become much more aware of them, and much clearer on what and catch them. At the beginning, we won't be able to catch the most nuanced, and some of them are so, like, quantum speed. They're so quick that we don't even notice that we've had that thought about something. I can't remember what the other day was. I do this with my friends now a lot, that I catch whenever they say something, I catch wherever my brain and my ego goes to first, like that. It's split second. It is a split second thought that will usually be a bit cringe and a bit shameful to admit. But also, I've learned that admitting the shameful things, because I know now that they're not me, they're not inherently me. It is what I've learned or what I have made meaning from something that happened to me in the past, like an experience or a situation, or when someone said something, I made that situation mean something about me. So it's not necessarily, these subconscious beliefs are not necessarily verbatim language that we have heard other people say to us. Like someone mightn't have said to you, you're unimportant, you are insignificant, but you have come to the conclusion that you are unimportant and you're insignificant through whatever occurred in your friendship group or in your family. Something happened and you made that situation mean that you are unimportant and insignificant. So, but it's fun if you see it as a game to look at the subconscious. And so particularly as you are, on the awakening path and you are doing the inner work, and if there's a little bit of frustration there that you are still in patterns with, look at those closest to you. If you have a partner, a husband, or your kids, or whatever it is, go to those ones that are with you most of the time, because that is usually where these patterns are revealed and come up the most. I'm just thinking of this week, actually. This week has been intense. It's been so intense energetically. And there was something coming up between myself and my husband, and it was so uncomfortable. Oh my gosh. But learning to turn towards and to do something different. That's another thing. To learn to do something different. I better go. Oh my gosh. To learn to have to have the courage and bravery to do it differently. Okay, so if you have a clash with someone and your go-to is to not speak to them for 24 hours or for 2 days or to storm off, can you feel that sheer, very, very strong resistance within yourself and anchor yourself in yourself and become the observer and notice what's going on, and then ask, can you do something differently in that moment? Something like a micro change, like text them when you would normally ignore them for ages, or give them a hug, but it has to be genuine as well. It can't be fake either. So, but it's doing it. I can't, there's no prescription for this, because it's you. It's you going within with yourself and finding it. I can't tell you what the actions are, it has to be you with you. And that's shit, because everyone wants answers. Everyone wants like a path to healing and a path to whatever, to doing things the way that'll get us the answers. And of course, there's support and there's help, and we can talk about things and we get ideas pinged off each other by speaking about things. But really, it is going within, and it is allowing yourself to be the observer of yourself and to take it as playful as you can, even if I know some things can be really, really difficult and really, really hard. But in the lighter phases, perhaps finding where it can be curious and playful, and you can do it as a bit of a sleuth, that like pretend you're Nancy Drew and you're like finding it's some big mystery we are unfolding. I feel like it's me on a magical mystery tour and a detective work to uncover more of the real me. So whatever works for you in your way of looking at it, but also allow in some play and fun, and follow your joy, follow what lights you up amongst it all, because it can get quite heavy if you're doing also the inner work that is just about inner work. Even inner work, the language around that, inner healing. Healing though, are you broken? No. Do you need to be fixed? No. It is a revealing, inner revealing. Okay, that's the new one, inner revealing. And it is because it's just peeling back, decluttering all these layers, subconscious beliefs, dissolving them until your full, shiny, beautiful, gorgeous self. And you are beautiful and gorgeous now as you are as well. So please remember that. Please remind yourself that, like, accept ourselves and love ourselves fully as we are right now. And also know that as we love ourselves and as we embrace ourselves, we peel back these layers to reveal our true essence, where we can speak freely, we can be who we are, we can show up in the world as we are. And there's nothing better than that. There's nothing better that feels as good as showing up in your relationships and having like closing the gap between who you are and who you present yourself to be in different situations. And it changes in different situations for sure. But the more often we can show up as ourselves in each situation, that means that we have less to hide, to mask, and we'll want to do that too, as we go through our journey. We'll want to keep masking in some areas because it's safer, and we have to think of safety in our body and what our nervous system has capacity for. But the more we do this, and this is what I'm finding, and I am living proof that I used to be like poles apart. I used to internally be one way and externally be another way. I used not to talk about any of this spiritual stuff. I used to not tell anyone I was reading any sort of personal development books for decades. So when I was certainly in my teens, I didn't tell anybody. I was so ashamed that I had to read personal development books. In my 20s, I told a couple of people, very select people. I remember telling a friend once and she just ridiculed me and laughed. But I then grew aware and used to and aware of who I could tell and who was safe. So there is a need for that as well. But the more we can close that gap between who we show up as in the world and what is our internal system, and that integrity, and that not having to have the hypervigilance and aware, tending to that all the time, which is such an energy leak, and it's exhausting. Oh, it's exhausting. Even thinking of it is just like, how many years of my life and minutes and hours of the day did I spend worrying about other people, checking what's in my environment? Should I be a certain way? Have I to hide something? What's in my environment that I need to put away that people can't see? Oh my gosh, what can't I say? What can't, there's just, it's exhausting. And so the closer we can get to who we are and at our core essence, the more vitality we have, the more energy we have. So we might be someone who's gotten very lethargic and we're in perimenopause and we're getting tired but I am finding that the more I can be truly myself, self-expressed, say what I want to say to the people I want to say it to, that liberates and frees up so much of my energy. And therefore I am able to have extra vitality and aliveness, and it makes life so much better. So yes, how do I want to conclude this? I don't know, because I've talked about a number of things, but the inner revealing of your subconscious beliefs, and knowing that even as you are awakening to all of the mainstream fuckery and what's, what the structures and systems have in place, and how they keep us wed to them, and how when we can break out of them gradually, bit by bit, it doesn't have to be drastic, it's bit by bit, consciously uncoupling from the mainstream system, but being aware of what our subconscious beliefs that are still running our show and that are still showing up for us. So let me know, come into my DMs on Instagram or email me, or come into the comments under the podcast and we can have the chats about it, because it's fascinating. And I'd love to hear what you know about this, what feels confusing about this, what feels like you're in it, what way you approach this, if you do it all. Do you have that, the consciousness and awareness of this, of the observer versus yourself, your true self? And if not, come into my messages as well. I love to speak about it. I think it's so healthy and useful for us all to chat about it and share our experiences and help each other and support each other and be so caring and compassionate for ourselves where we are, and each other for where each of us is. And yeah, it's just a big mystical, magical mystery tour. And remember to find the magical miracles in your day. Orient yourself towards magic and miracles. That's my mantra all the time now, orienting myself and my days for magic and miracles. So I hope you can find some magical miracles today or in the next couple of days, and write them all down. Notice the synchronicities, notice the magical nudges, notice what is being put in your path. And I will speak to you next time. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for listening. And feel free to get in touch if you have anything to say. Okay, bye-bye. Lots of love. Thank you for joining me on this journey to wild simplicity. If today's episode inspired you to let go, simplify, and reconnect with your truest self, I would love for you to share it and help spread the word. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode, and follow along on Instagram at Wild Simplicity for more inspiration. Remember, life is precious and you have the power to live it fully, freely, and fiercely. Until next time, keep dreaming, keep seeking, and keep embracing the wild possibilities of life.